Hey there, OrganizedPreneur family. Welcome to another episode of the OrganizedPreneur Podcast. If you haven't noticed by now, I have been interviewing some very interesting people that I've known for a number of years, some that I've just met. And in this particular episode, I'm actually interviewing Maz Alexander, and you'll find out I'm the only one that can call her Maz. Is actually Maz Alexander, who is a mother, a mental wellness and transformational coach, a social worker, a speaker, an author, as well as a stand up comedian. You're going to love this episode. I'm super excited because Maz Alexander is a mental well being and transformational coach. She's also a social worker, mother, speaker, and author, and she's based in London. And so she supports busy professionals and caregivers to develop and maintain healthy boundaries so that they can implement the self care that they need to live a well balanced and authentic and fulfilled life. I'm so excited to introduce to you my friend Maz Alexander. Thank you, Maz, for joining me today. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And so I know it's late in the evening. You're joining me from London, and so I really do want to respect your time. So we're going to get into it. Before we get into it, I don't know if you want to add something to your bio. If you do, please feel free to do that. Did I overlook anything? Because I already know how amazing you are, right? So, you can add a little bit more or
Well,
if I missed anything.
you forgot to mention, you didn't tell them I'm a professional clown. Um, no, you know what? When you read that out, it makes me remember how much I've achieved, and that's good. But the toughest job of all is being a mother to a Gen Z daughter. That tops all of those. So yes.
Wow. I don't know what it's like to be a mother. And what is Gen Z anyway? What's that age?
Oh, those are the ones. So what age are they? So mine, she's in her 20s, but they are, yeah, sort of what, 23 and below. I don't know. And then you've got the
Ah,
alphas. I can't keep up, but they're the
I
young
can't.
ones who are, just yeah, they're not like how we were raised. They're different breed. The ones
I don't know.
that
I don't know that I don't know that I knew that you had a 20-year-old. I don't know
yeah,
that I knew
21.
that. I know when we used to meet and all of that, that was some years ago, maybe what, like 3, maybe 4 years ago when we
Yeah,
used to
well,
meet.
during COVID. Yeah,
Yeah.
6 years ago. So yeah,
Wow.
time. She's grown now. She's grown.
So how do you get all of that done? I mean, because that's a lot.
It
That
is.
is a
It is.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Because yeah, I mean, like many of us, I am multifaceted. The irony is, although I help women like us, professional women who do a lot and get a lot done, high achieving women. Um, I help them to get their self-care and boundary. But I also have a coach because I need to get mine. I have a coach, mentors because I need it. Because it's easier to because you can see it in other people and it's but for myself, for my own self-care, I need that. So it's about yeah, everything has to be um scheduled in my diary. And I know you talked about this. I loved hearing the last podcast that I heard in terms of the fragments of time you talked about. I loved it. The chronos time, kairos time. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's so many wasted hours and things that we can be doing, not to be productive but to be fruitful. And yeah, it got me thinking, but I probably do too much. But I do, I travel a lot. I love to travel. I like my holidays. I read. I try
You,
and take time
yeah.
to meditate, to pray, all of those things. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And an author. I mean, so how do you find time to write books?
Oh, well, I haven't written. The last one I wrote was 2 years ago, and no, well, it was released since then. The first book, Arise Kintsugi Queens, You Are Becoming All You're Meant to Be. I I wrote another two books since then, and finding time, it's those fragments of time that you talk about, Aldrima, because if you're sitting there for 20 minutes, you open up a Word document. I do I know you don't like the term brain dump, but that's what I do. And I work it out, I put it all out there, and then I piece it together. I formulate my thoughts afterward, but whatever, it's about capturing ideas, and that's how I produce content generally. It's a bit all over the place, but then I capture it. So whether it's a voice note or writing things down, it could be 10, 15 minutes a day, then you piece it all together. So that's how I did it. And I didn't want to do it. I was never a writer, but certainly not an author. And actually it was God. He kept bothering me. You know how he does. Kept bothering me. I'm like, I don't want to write no book. What are you talking about? And he's telling me, write the book, write it. And it was him actually, because I'm not really motivated to do things like that. And the second one I released very quickly, shortly afterwards. And he insisted. And I'm like, why? Leave me alone. Wouldn't let me sleep, wouldn't. So I had to do the thing. So, and here we are.
I mean, I love it. Well, first of all, I thank you for listening to my episodes. And I'm glad that it was helpful for you. Yeah, when you talk up, when you mention brain dump, it was just something that I heard people say all the time, and I was like, I don't know if I like that word, so I'm going to change it to brain thought download. Okay, that'll
Yes.
be my words. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but definitely, I get it, and but I know that having to do all of the things because I remember when we used to meet, you were still working full time.
Yeah, well, not in that respect. So that's why, in the social work aspect, yeah, I still practice because I keep my registration. So I still practice more part-time now. But yeah, I'm still uh, on that government assignment, but I'm working on my assignment. So,
Right.
it takes precedence. Yeah.
No, I really, when I looked at your bio and I was looking at all of the things, that you do, I really don't know how you get it all done. I mean, I'm always amazed at, when mothers, whether single mothers or, married mothers, whatever, because it's raising children, it takes up a lot. And then, if you're doing that, you're working, you're trying to build a business, you're doing the things that God has called you to do, all that. And you got to find, figure out your rhythm and all that. So, yeah. So
Mm.
I definitely just, I salute people who are able to manage all of those compartments.
Yeah, but
So,
Aldrima, you are also doing, because you're doing many things as well, and there's seasons because they're not always running parallel. I mean, my daughter, I'm an empty nester, and that's why I have time to travel. I have more time. I don't have to tend to her, although she'll call me soon when she wants some money. But thank God I don't have to, I don't have to worry about taking her to school. I
yeah.
don't have a husband anymore, thank God. That was extra weight, got rid of that. So yeah, I have that, and yes, the 9 to 5 thing. Do you know what? We all have 24 the same 24 hours, and I have stopped or minimize saying, oh, I haven't got time. There is time. There is always time to do what we set our minds to do. And if it's important to us, we'll find a way. It's like if I say to you,
Mhm.
Aldrima, I got $1 million for you. You come and get it. You're going to make a way to see me. Whether you got time or not, you're going to find time and you're going to come and get the prize. So yeah,
That's right.
we
That's
have
right.
time.
That's right. You're absolutely right about that. So, so you have a wealth of professional and lived experience.
Mhm.
How has that background equipped you to offer such a unique faith based or faith rooted and trauma informed approach to women that you serve?
Yeah, because it is actually a combination of my personal and professional development. So it was always in me. I was always interested, mental health in particular. It started as a child. My mother was a psychiatric nurse, and back in the day, certainly in the late 80s, we had asylums, and seeing that they put anyone in a asylum. You didn't have to have a mental illness, so whether you were an unwed mother or all kind of people. But I remember that's where the seed started, Aldrima, because I was fascinated by the presentations of these different people, these colorful people. And I remember sitting there, and I remember saying, one day I'm going to let them out. I was like, and I told my mom, she's like, don't be so silly. I said, yeah, I'm going to let them out. I'm going to release them. And in a way, that's what I did later on with the social work job, setting the captives free. But people are like, we don't want those captives free. So I always had a fascination with the peculiarity of people. And I was always very philosophical. Why are we here? What are we doing? Why is that person like that? Anyway, so it wasn't until my own journey. So I had my own challenge, the dark soul of the night that came when, and it was a depressive, not clinically, by the way, but it was a depressive melancholy, let's call it that. It wasn't clinical depression, although, because I was still functioning. And I know in the States you have high functioning depression. It's not recognized over here. But anyway, I was burnt out. But I was functioning. I was having a crisis, not of faith, because I always held my faith, but I was done with the church bureaucracy and the theatrics. And I was like, Lord, if this is Christianity, I don't want it, because I saw people doing the whole spiritual bypassing and the whole legalistic thing. I'm like, listen, I need to get my healing. And you are offering me empty platitudes, and you're telling me I need to pray more, and because I'm depressed, it's my fault, and all of these things. And you're saying that because you don't know, but God has a way of humbling us all and making us eat our words. So it was at that was the turning point, I would say, Aldrima. So when it certainly deepened my empathy. So when being a mental health professional, because obviously you can't lose it. Even the clients now, Aldrima, some of the patients on the ward, they're like, Maz, you're crazy. And I said, I know. And they're like, you should be taking the medication, not me. I said, yeah, but they haven't caught me yet. You're in here, so you take the medication if you want to get out of here. but they have a point. There are some I guess, some eccentricities about me, some peculiarities. But the point is, Aldrima, all of that made me, through that stage where God was teaching me about grace and rebuilding my soul, quite literally, because it made me question things, all the things that were presented to me, though they were as they were. I realized that that people have, well, I've always known that people have their battles, but what it did, and the burnout that I experienced spiritually and physically made me. That's why I created the business later on. It was a few years afterwards that I started, because there was no one, for that very reason. There was no one to speak to. There was not a forum. I know people say, speak to your pastor, speak to HR, speak to. It's platitudes, like I said. You go to church, oh, it is well. Oh, God is good all the time. Now that's true, but it's like me, Aldrima, eating, saying to you, you're telling me you're hungry, and then I'm eating a 3-course meal in front of you, and I'm like, Aldrima, don't worry, girl, you'll eat one day, you'll be fine. Like, what?
Right.
So yeah, the absurdity of that. And it taught me not to be so religious. It taught me not to depend on man. And what God was doing was just refining our relationship and deepening that intimacy. So yeah, I started the business because I realized there's lots of women, because I was functioning. Don't forget, Aldrin, I was functioning. I did very well. And that's what people do when they're in survival mode. They can function for they might be the biggest CEOs, and they might have a lot of wealth. They have the husband. They have all the things that we may aspire to. But they be crying themselves to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
They're not able to sleep. They have, physical health problems, all kinds of things that they are battling, things that keep them in bondage. So that's what I realized. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, we need a space because people cannot heal and grow unless there is authenticity, unless there is safety, unless they have a
Mm-hmm.
forum to honestly reveal how they're feeling and how they're processing the traumas. So yeah, and the rest is history. So that's what I do. And I also, as you know, when I said professional clown, I do stand-up comedy. I still do that, and it's my outlet,
Yeah.
because the absurdity of life means that, I don't always take myself too seriously, and it's relatable to the audience when I share those encounters. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you finding that there is an increased amount of people going through a lot of overwhelm and some of the things? Is that increasing or decreasing?
I think it's always be there, although it appears to be increased. I think it's just this digital age that we live in. Perhaps before we might not have known so much about it, and it's the language that we use. So people don't even like that word overwhelm, burnout, because it's stigmatizing. I didn't even know because burnout. Even overwhelm, it's a creeper. it's like it's like rum.
True.
Sorry, I'm from the Caribbean, and it's like when you have a strong drink and you think I'm fine, and then you got something you're like, whoa, okay, it's like that. It creeps up on you, and some of the cultural things because I know us in the Caribbean, and I don't want to generalize, but and even in the States, we subscribe to this strong black woman archetype. So if we admit that actually I can't hold it all together, it's seen as a weakness, and then it keeps us
Mhm.
silent, and it delays our healing. But I would say that people have appear to have more responsibilities. There's more obviously cost of living crisis that we're having, recessions on a global scale. So yes, people do feel the pressure, but they might not necessarily say. I know back home we'll say, someone might say to you, Aldrima, I'm tired. I'm tired. They're not going to say I'm depressed. They're going to say I'm
Right.
tired. They're going to say overwhelmed. I'm tired. And I always ask, well, what kind of tired are you? Where's the tired? Is it tired from? Are you physically exhausted? Is it keeping up appearances? Is it just you being in your caregiver? What is it you're tired of? Because we have to.
Mm.
I remember before I experienced the burnout, I kept saying it. Even sometimes now, I'm tired, and I have to pause and think, what is it? What is causing? Because
Mm.
I'm not necessarily doing much, and burnout is not necessarily about having too much responsibility. You might not even be doing, but there's something that is overwhelming. Even the thought of things and that's why we procrastinate, and we can be avoidant because we just think, oh no, I don't want to face that. That's why many people, Aldrima, don't even not that they don't want to heal, but they don't seek it because it's
Mhm.
hard work. Nobody wants to be
Yeah.
up in the therapist chair bawling their eyes out. Nobody wants to talk about what happened in 1993, and it's hard, and
Yeah.
it's messy and it's
Yeah.
ugly. So
Yeah.
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 You're right about that. I mean, I went through a season about a year and a half ago. I went through a season myself of over. Well, I just call it what it was. I was overwhelmed. I was allowing myself to be overwhelmed by the things that were going on,
Mhm.
in in society, in this whole current situation that we're experiencing over here.
Yeah, I hear you.
and
Yes.
so and so I was allowing that to impact me in a very negative way. And I don't even think I realized it until one time. Well, it was actually more than one time. I started to experience. I was getting up early in the mornings, in the middle of the night. Actually, I was having heart palpitations. I was worried over things that I could do nothing about.
Hmm.
you know, And so I had never been to a therapist before. And I told my husband, I was like, you know what? I need therapy.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
We all
so because there were things there was trauma there. There were triggers that were
do.
causing me to react to certain things that I even thought they were I didn't realize that they were still there. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess, if you never really deal with it, it's still there, even though you may not see it. It's just kind of like you sitting on a nail that is not, it's not bothering me. That's because I'm not moving. I'm just sitting here. So so,
Yeah.
but things were starting to really it was starting to affect my sleep, my health. I mean, all of that. And so I finally realized it's like, I'm going to get some therapy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to lose some weight.
Mm-hmm.
I started, I was starting to have high blood pressure, just all the things. And I was like, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
live like this. This is, no, no, I don't like this. So even before the scale was going up, the numbers on the scale. So my weight was going up. And I was like, no, 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 I'm not going out like this. So I just made a decision to do something about it. And so, a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm walking every day. I'm doing something about it. I feel amazing. And I feel like now I'm in the best health, that I've been in definitely a long time. So
Oh,
yeah,
it's amazing.
but sometimes you
Yeah.
just don't even realize it's there. And and I came up in an era where it's like same thing as what you were saying. People like, oh, just pray about it, and no, honey, this is real, and this is right now what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm close to the Lord. I love the Lord too.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are things, resources, people who are gifted in those areas that can help me. And so I need help. So
I
I
love.
thank you for what you do.
I
so
appreciate.
go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm just thinking, processing what you said because you made a decision. You had to give yourself permission to seek that
Yeah.
that the help, the support, because you tried it
Yeah.
yourself, and what you were doing was not working for you. So I think
Right.
that vulnerability helped, and it just reminded me that we forget that we are God designed it. We're tripart beings, so we have this earthly, but we have a body, we have our soul, that's
Yeah.
our mind, will, and emotions, and
Hmm.
and with the spirit, that's where God lives, in the spirit. But the mistake that many Christians make, we over spiritualize a lot of things, and we pray about it. That's great, of course you should pray,
Hmm.
but it's like, if
Absolutely.
I'll dream, if you break your leg or something, I could pray over it, but you might need to go to the hospital. If you
Right.
need a triple heart bypass, the pastor cannot perform that operation. So we need
Right.
to be, we need to acknowledge just generally that it's perfectly normal. It's very normal what you are experiencing, Aldrima, given the circumstances. And
Hmm.
any suffering that we do experience is as a result of living in a fallen world. So that means none of us are immune.
Yes.
None of us are immune
Absolutely.
because the wind, the rain, it
Exactly.
blows on us all. So yeah, we have to remember that. So thank you. Yes.
So can you explain like what it means to help overwhelmed professionals and caregivers to detach their worth from overgiving and step
Mm,
into who they are becoming? Because you mentioned
yeah.
that that's your coaching philosophy, is
Yes.
identity driven rather than performance driven. So
Exactly.
how does that work?
Yeah. it's so, and the book touches on this arise kintsugi queen, so it is also based, it's kind of like a beauty for ashes kind of concept, but kintsugi you may have seen when they where it's a Japanese art form, so when they break the pottery or whatever, rather than discard it, they use like gold material, gold glue, to put it back together again, and it creates something more beautiful. So really it's a metaphor for life about embracing our imperfections. So
Mm.
there is no need for, it's God's concept of grace for striving. Once we understand that, that's why it has to be identity driven, because actually people can, no matter how traumatized you are, you can achieve a certain amount, and we can achieve and achieve, but we're never really fulfilled. That was certainly my story. So a lot of the coaching I do is based on that identity work, because I realize, and it's not the people who you would expect. I mean, it's high, people even higher than me, people, they have the most insecurities, and I'm not just talking about a mild case of self-doubt. I mean look at Michelle Obama, the likes of those who suffer with imposter syndrome and various other things, and you think, what, but you're so successful. It is those who need the most, because I guess it's harder when you have a certain level of responsibilities. As I say, new levels, new devils. So you need that self-care, because actually everyone's depending on you, and it's hard for you to, especially if you're a caregiver. And when I say caregiver, I'm talking about whether you're a pastor, a parent,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're looking after your elderly parents,
Mm-hmm.
whoever you're giving care to, or or you're a doctor, nurse, whatever. Um, if you're giving, there is things, and there's no deposit going in, you're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
get a return. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
essential, just like you wouldn't drive the car without any gas. And people forget that. I know it sounds quite simple, of course, yeah, of course not, we know we need to look after ourselves, but we know it intellectually, but we're not, for some reason. And after all the years and well-being initiatives that we have in the workplace, in the congregations, why are so many of us still tired, burnt out, we're going off with stress? So clearly we
Mm-hmm.
didn't get the memo. And I
Yes.
think it all begins with this concept. So your identity, if you don't see yourself as a provider, a giver, it depends, that, and that can disrupt even your relationship with God, with others. If you and I find this mainly, that's why my service is not exclusively for kingdom women, by the way. Um, and it's the kingdom women that sometimes struggle more than
I
the others
agree.
to get this, because they feel like they have to be like Martha. So they're busy with ministries, they're busy because these are all good things, and because they're good things, they think, well, why should I stop? But they're exhausted.
It,
The family, like, your kids don't see you. So
yeah.
it starts there, Aldrima, with, and it takes several weeks of the program before they get it, because um, people often think, well, that means, I think they think sometimes that, to have boundaries, and that is another essential component of self-care, they think it's selfish, so they don't allow themselves
Mm-hmm.
that. No, I can't tell my family that. I can't tell that I'm going to be there for them at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm like, okay, now what happens when you get incapacitated? Who is going to do that? What is going to, so it's just about, a lot of it is about reframing, and giving permission, implementing those boundaries that you need,
Mm-hmm.
because boundaries are actually for people who you want to maintain
Mm-hmm.
relationships with. What are your
Mm-hmm.
non-negotiables? Who can have access to you? Those
Yeah.
kind of things. So we do that, and yes, it is rooted in faith. And people are often surprised when we talk about scriptures as well. And yes, it is trauma informed. But when the Christian sisters are often like, "Oh, I didn't know." I'm like, "But you," it's like, how are you reading that? And
Mm-hmm.
also, it's we have to undo the work. Many of us have a lot of false doctrines that were taught by
Oh yeah.
well-meaning people, but they
Yeah.
didn't serve us very, very well. And
Yeah.
actually, what they did was put a barrier between
Yeah.
us and God. So just like faulty software, that's what we have to unlearn, and then replace them with. Essentially, it's the transforming of the mind.
Yes.
Transforming of the mind, because we
Yeah.
all have knowledge, but we
Yeah.
need to be transformed. We need to have that revelation. You know, Aldrima, just like you can read a book or a section of the Bible, you read it before many times. You're like, oh, you're seeing it a new light. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we do. But it's those secret thoughts, the gremlins in the head that many of us have. I still have them. And they tell me, even tonight, Aldrima, they were like, well, why are you going to talk to Aldrima? She don't want to hear what you got to say. Why don't you just go to bed? and, and it happens every time I'm on stage. Nobody wants to hear you. Why are you there? Why, look at you.
That is
So I'm like,
there.
shut up.
Yeah.
And I click on. I'm going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so true though, because that little voice,
Mm.
that little
Loud
voice,
voice.
all the time, uh,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean, I so get it. As you were saying it, I was thinking about, so because you've been on my podcast before, I remember. So I think
Long
it
time.
was that may have been what, 3 years ago or something like that. I
More.
don't
Yeah.
remember, but I and we had talked about a lot of stuff. At the time, I had not gone through what I have gone through this, in the past couple of years, and what I went through was something that I had not heard of before, but it was I think it's called like age, um, stage of life something or something. It's like when you go through. I, I was struggling with the aging process. That's what I
Okay.
was struggling with. There were things that my body was doing, and some of it not necessarily related to age, but just things that I had not ever faced before, and
Yeah.
and so it, stage of life therapy is something, I think that's what it was called. Now this was with actually with an LPC, and so which I know that's not what you're saying that that you are or anything like that, but they're so closely related. Do people get that mixed up sometimes when they come to you?
In terms of getting the stage, sorry, just say that last bit again, Aldrima.
I know I said a whole bunch of stuff, didn't I? But
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was saying, do people get that mixed up when they come to you thinking that you're going to be providing therapy to them
Oh, yes.
versus life coaching? Everything that I said was a word salad, by the way. So just
No, no, I heard that. Yeah, I just missed the last few words. No, yeah,
okay,
you're quite right, and that's why they do. They still do, despite that's why in the beginning contracting is important. So now, sorry, it's going dark here, so I'm gonna have to switch the light on. The
okay,
colors draining from me. I see it. Um, yeah, I tell them first off, I am not Jesus. I do not do miracles. First of all, I am, I specialize in mental well-being. Here are my credentials, and I'm not your therapist. This is how it's different. So I give them all the blurb in the emails when they after they have the discovery call, or even before sometimes, because and sometimes they're thinking, no, I'm not your friend, no, I'm not any of those things, and this is very future focused, and we're going to be looking at we can touch on maybe your adverse childhood experiences, but we're not going to stay there because this is not what that is. We
okay,
need to get from A to B. So I'll hear you, but we're not going to do that every week. We're not going to do, and you pay, you can waste your money if you want to, but this is your goals. And this is where
hmm
I have a duty of care to get you there. So yeah, I make that very clear. And people, I think, and that's why many of my clients are in the US and Canada, because you've understood that, and the coaching industry has been thriving for a
hmm
lot longer. In the UK, so I think of course they have a concept of what it is, but they're less likely because they're like, oh, what are you coaching? What, are you an athlete? I know, but they feel like, well, if I got problems, I'll talk to my husband or my friend. I'm like, okay, that you do that. That's not the kind of person for me. I know, just like you, we all have those turning points, those transitions in life that make us think like, oh, I don't want to stay here. I need some help. It's like me when I was I know you guys do pounds, but anyway, I was 8 stone heavier. That's like a whole person. When I thought
Mm-hmm.
I looked like Beyonce at the time, I didn't know I was so heavy. I didn't know.
Yeah,
And other
okay.
people would tell me, but when you can't see yourself, you have blind spots. And I said, "Oh, I'll lose the like any addict says, I can stop smoking when I want to. I can stop drinking." And they're the last person in the room to know that you drunk and it's so I was like that for a while. And then accountability, that's why we need each other, right? Iron sharpens
Yeah.
iron. So when I joined all these groups and things, and apart from the shame of, I thought every week that they weighing me, I don't want them to see that I haven't lost anything. So anyway, that's the journey. But yeah, it's the same with this healing work. So some people are not suitable for me, Aldrima, and I'm sure you've had that. That's why I love those discovery calls. It's a bit like like a dating speaking, and
Yes.
we're like, yeah, you're not for me. And I
Right?
can't help you.
Right.
I say that,
Right.
Aldrima, because one time I had a lady, and despite me giving her all the emails, she was a Christian lady as well. She's asking me, she asking me to do an exorcism, and I'm like, I don't do no exorcism. You need to go and talk to your pastor. But she was like, they're bothering me, and I was way out of my depth. I was like, no, 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 we're not gonna we're not gonna do any
Wow.
coaching because you have some other things that you're dealing with,
Yeah.
and that's a serious spiritual warfare that I am not equipped to deal with. Please go back to
Yeah.
your pastor.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, you have that
Yeah.
sort.
Like please and thank you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you are currently promoting your books and your brand new one-on-one coaching program focused on boundaries and stewardship.
Yes.
So, how do these resources specifically help midlife women implement the self care that they need to live balanced and authentic lives?
Yes. Well, as we've discussed a lot of it, so whether the books or the coaching program are rooted in identity work. So we have to know who we are, and to know who we are,
Mm-hmm.
like Miles Monroe says, you consult the manufacturer. He's got the blueprint. So
Yes,
I just
yes,
take what he gives me. It's all there. That's the program
yes,
that we're following.
yes.
So yeah, very much rooted in biblical principle, as well as cognitive behavioral therapy, which is really, all of it is biblical, but they call it different things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about doing that inner work, the reframing of the mind, but also our heart postures, and that's the hardest thing, because that's why I guess when doing other sort of strategical things, in my experience, or therapeutic approaches, they don't always work for everyone, because if you, for example, have certain limiting beliefs, i.e. you feel you're not worthy, you're you don't feel you're worth investing in yourself, then it's going to be hard for you to you might seek it, but you might not believe that you deserve it, so then you're going to self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an issue that I find. So yeah, it's about knowing that you are you are if you never achieve another accolade, you are still worthy. If you are a prostitute, you were walking the streets last night, you are still worthy. In the same way that if we
Mm.
have a $50 bill and it falls in the mud, it still retains its value. You dust it off, you can spend it. So it's that's
True.
that's really the concept. And mainly midlife women, because um, that, like you said, those transitions, I'm not just talking about midlife crisis or any existential crisis, but there are certain things that happen to us, um after, it may be, we've lost some loved ones, after, job redundancy. I mean, COVID, for example, made us have to look and review our lives
Yeah.
and our relationships.
Yeah.
So that's why I prefer to work with this group of women. And like I say, mostly kingdom women, but not
Mm-hmm.
all. And again,
Not
it's
exclusive.
helping
Yeah.
you. Yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
about those broken pieces. Remember the kintsugi. So God is the glue, but I provide
Mm-hmm.
the container to the to be able to provide that work. So
Yeah.
that is essentially what it's about. The book, the book. I remember years ago. It's coming back to me about 5 years ago. And we did I did a presentation on that actually. But it helps. All of it helps with the boundaries, with putting on your true identity, your true self, and when
Hmm.
that happens, that's where the transformation happens because you can live in accordance with your purpose. We identify what that is as well because
Hmm.
many people don't know. It's like, what am I here for? And you don't want to still be
Hmm.
asking that question when you're 70, when you're 80. You can, but if you could find it sooner, that would be better for everyone. Yeah.
So true. I love what you said there. I mean, but I think a lot of it is because our identity is so tied up in what we do. Um, Even when we introduce ourselves, we'll say, well, I am a professional organizer. It's like, okay, is that who you are? Or you may say your name, but you immediately will go to what you do. That's what a lot of people immediately what they will do is they will talk about their career or what have you. And so that
Mm,
says a lot about how we view ourselves. Don't you think?
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's why when you read out all those titles, I was like, oh, is that me? But yeah, I'm always interested in who people are when they're not doing their role, when they're not, when you're not speaking Christianese, who are you? When you're not somebody's wife or, I'm more interested in, are you a good person? What's your heart say? Rather, because I
Yeah.
don't I don't really care for titles too much. I never did. So I'm always the awkward one when you
Yeah,
when
me
you
either.
go to dinner parties or whatever. They're like, "Oh, so Maz, what do you do?" And I always tell them, I like to. I'm like, "Oh, I'm an exotic dancer." I remember I used to say
I
I'm a lap
remember you
dancer, and they'd be
saying
like,
that.
"Oh."
Yeah.
I like to tease them, especially in church, because and they clutch their pearls, because it's not.
Yeah.
I think it's not so much about what I do. What I do may be very different from who I am. Don't you want to know who I am?
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
because it's very
Yeah.
transactional.
Yeah.
That's the problem. This is it, Aldrima. Why another hindrance to
Yeah.
healing? Because we're always performing. We're always busy being, busy doing rather than being.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we
Yeah.
need to reframe that if we're gonna, you know, live as we're meant to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this part of our interview, what are some things that you
hmm
would like to say to your audience or some of the people that's listening? Is there anything in particular that you wanted to say?
Yeah, just other than we spoke about giving yourself permission, but please, above all, do not suffer in silence. You were made for
Hmm.
a reason. There is a plan and a purpose for your life. So I'd invite you to be curious about what that is, because you may not know, and that's okay. It's many of us don't know until till we get the call. So be curious about what that is, because sometimes life can feel meaningless, and I get that. And sometimes you're so depleted that you can't even have hope or pray for yourself. That's why we need others. So please don't suffer in silence. Please don't.
Mm.
And seek out. God sends destiny helpers, I believe. When I was going through the whole the dark soul of the night, and this was in a church. I forgot to say, Aldrin, I was in a cult. But anyway, the point was
That's
it
okay.
wasn't a
Yeah.
church at the time, but I didn't know that. The point is that because I wasn't speaking up, it's just like the Psalms when David says, in my groaning, when I kept quiet, he was agonizing. It was only when he confessed
Hmm.
that he found the release. So I would encourage our listeners to do the same. And I know
Hmm.
shame may have kept you, and I know certain cultural barriers. We don't discuss that in this house. We don't do that. Don't bring shame on our family. But
Hmm.
really and truly, like Aldrima mentioned before, the thing doesn't go away. In fact, it stays stored in your body. The body
Yeah.
does keep the score. And it's just like you think you've deleted things on your computer and you're like, what? They're still there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still there, and it will remain there until you press it. So please do not suffer in silence. And there is a brighter, I know that sounds a bit cliche, but there is a brighter future waiting if you are curious enough to seek it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know, okay, so you got your one-on-one coaching program and you got your books and everything. So, and when is uh, your next comedy gig?
It's actually in a couple of weeks. So these are just so it's whoever books me, whoever wants to be entertained by this clown. So yeah, I do like pubs and clubs, theaters up and down the country. So I never know when the next one's going to be, but I do know that there's one coming up in 2 weeks, and I just got back from Serbia actually, and that was a culture shock. But yeah, very international comedy, and I learned, Aldrima, that actually this is the universal language. People want to laugh again.
Mhm.
People, and
Yes.
laughter is the best medicine. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Now, have you not been to the United States on a comedy gig or anything, or you've not had any over here?
Not official, but I remember I went over. It was my friend's 40th birthday, and I went to New York, and I did
Ah,
a
okay.
comedy gig there, and I loved it in Brooklyn. I loved it, and they seem to enjoy it. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Well, don't don't come to Texas and me not know about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And if I come to
I
Texas, you
know,
got to
right?
feed me. Coming for the
I
food.
know, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Well, Maz, it is always a pleasure talking to you. Always enlightening. You always bring so much value, so much joy. And I know it's been a minute since we've even chatted, but I see you online and things like that. I'm like, oh, there's Maz. And so, but I want people to reach out to you. Your information will be in the show notes. But is there like what is your website? Even though it's going to be on the show notes, I still like for people to say the best way to reach out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm across. Yeah, I mean, you could Google my name, Maz Alexander, but Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as Maz Alexander, but Instagram, if you want content and you want to see the kind of work I do, so that's Maz Transformational Coaching on Instagram, and
Okay.
yeah, feel free to connect. Yeah,
All right, all right. Well, listen, everyone, I want to thank you for joining us on this episode. And again, if you want to reach out to Maz, make sure that you click on the links that are in the show notes and connect with her. Follow her on Instagram, LinkedIn. Those are her socials, and she might even do a little comedy gig on one of those platforms. Who knows? Who knows? Because you never know with Maz. I can tell you that. So Maz, I definitely want to thank you for joining me on this episode, and it's like again, I always say, such a pleasure talking to you, and we'll definitely have to do it. We don't. Let's not wait so long next time. I don't know
yes.
why it's been so long since we talked. I don't know.
You've been avoiding me, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it?